So NBA 2K21 has recently revealed the pricing for its various SKUs. This includes the versions playable on next-generation machines, and yeah, you're seeing that correct. While the current generation version suggests at $59.99 US, the PS5 and Xbox Series X variations specifically are suggested at $69.99. Many in the industry have been hinting at this change for a while now, such as former PlayStation head Sean Layden. It has been implied from this decision and comments from others in the industry after it was made that this will be the new standard SRP going forward. And here's my general thoughts on the idea being pushed that games need to cost this much for any X reason. Games don't need to cost any arbitrary value. And what I mean by that is, the idea that all AAA games need to cost $70 or even $60 or any random amount is ridiculous. To understand why, you just have to stop and think, why does this game cost what it does? First, let's tackle the daring challenger here that is NBA 2K. One of the reasons often cited for increased pricing is to cover the cost of inflation. That makes sense. Wages have to increase so people can pay for the inflated cost of living. But wait, who publishes these games? 2K? Oh, don't see that happening. Okay, but what about development costs? They just keep getting bigger, like Sean said in the same article he talked about pricing. Well, ignoring the fact that NBA games come out looking like this, not to even mention other 2K published sports games. I'm gonna have to concede here and say that in general cases, yes, games like The Last of Us 2 and GTA 5 and the new Halo are all expensively made games, more so even than the previous iteration of those IPs. But you know what can be just as expensive? Marketing. See, classifying a game as AAA has always felt rather arbitrary. We know it's something to do with budget, but what part of it? Star Citizen, for example, is one of the most expensive games ever made. And I'm using made with lots of air quotes there. And that's technically a self-published, crowd-funded indie game. Is it how long the game is that makes it AAA? No, there's plenty of short campaigns for AAA shooters, which is still a predominant genre among that classification. Some don't even have campaigns anymore, so the length of games is completely determined by the player themselves. Okay, but what about how good a game looks? Subjectivity aside, there's plenty of great-looking $40 indie games nowadays, like Hellblade and A Plague Tale: Innocence, which is a testament to the insane cost-effective tools even the smallest teams have at their disposal nowadays. These games are thrilled just to get over 1 million sales. A number of AAA projects that look just as good, if not worse, will consider a complete failure. No, to discover the answer, we have to figure out what the main cost difference is between a AA game like Nier Automata compared to a GTA. My research into what little public budgets exist for games has shown that almost all the most expensive ones that are widely considered AAA at least, had marketing budgets that come close to matching their development costs. And in the case of Modern Warfare 2, quadruples it. That's what defines a AAA game: marketing. You're not going to see a lot of TV or YouTube ads for Nier Automata, but you'll find it hard to not know when the next GTA is coming out. Spending so much time and money on a game means they have to make sure as many people see it as possible. You can't sell a game that little to no one knows exists. I can guarantee that the reason a game that comes out looking like this costs so much is at least in part due to its absurd marketing budget. Not just because of the marketing costs themselves even, but if they spend so much on marketing, in their minds, that means they can spend more on development because the extra eyes will more than make up for it as long as what we're showing looks eye-catching. So you kind of get this snowball effect where, as development costs increase, the marketing budget increases to match, which sets player expectations higher and then increases development costs, etc. This is the process that defines a AAA game's development. At least, that's all I can surmise. But I do have to be fair here. AAA games on next-gen machines are going to push for 4K, which means expensive 4K assets, and believe me, they are expensive. They're going to take advantage of proprietary technology like 3D audio, which means more expensive recording software and equipment. Game development cost is undeniably increasing, which means they have to ensure as many eyes see it and potentially buy it as possible, and to ensure that, they have to increase the marketing budget with it. They don't have to increase the wages though, those can stay the same. I gotta get my bonus check so I can buy myself a third yacht. So that sells it then, right? I'm wrong. Games are costing more to make and need to cost more on these next-gen machines to justify their new features like 2-second load times, along with their expanded marketing budget to ensure they make a return. Sorry to all those who can't afford new games as it is, I guess. If you can't afford next-gen machines and games, we have the perfect product for you called an Xbox One. This is just what's going to need to happen for the industry to sustain itself. But why? Why do we have to target these resolutions? Why do we have to spend money on 4K assets of a man's hair stub or replicating the exact sound a fish makes when flopping out of the water? It's cool that hardware companies are making that stuff an option, but it's just that. Lately, the AAA landscape has felt like they're more interested in producing glorified tech demos than games. They all look expensive, but their features and mechanics feel as though they're checking tick boxes on a things mass audiences like list. One of the biggest complaints of The Last of Us 2 was its length. Not that it was too short, but too long, which makes all the horror stories about the crunch culture the company faces feel all the more unfortunate. AAA games have to be long, so make this game longer, you dogs! Video games are supposed to be a meld of technology and creativity, but for AAA games, at some point the former took over the latter. In the indie game space, you have games that cost a wide range of prices, and the player gets to decide what looks worth it to them or not based on their own taste and budget. And some of them look good, like I've shown. Hell, Nintendo makes games on last-gen laptop GPUs, and people buy them by the millions. Why? Not because they're 4K, not because they got fast load times, because they certainly don't, not because they're cutting edge, not because they all clock 500 hour counts, not because I can pick my pubic color, no. But because they're fun. Games don't need to cost $70, they don't need to cost $60, some games are free even. They can and should cost whatever they want, and I should be able to look at that price and decide, nah, I'm in debt, thanks though. You may need to spend a lot to make or play a AAA game, but you don't need to spend a lot to make or play a good one.